When the Supreme Court was created with the Judiciary Act of, I think it was 1791, maybe it was 1790 even, the United States was created in its modern form in 1789 when the Constitution was ratified. You know, when this happened, the Supreme Court did not have the power to overturn laws. They couldn't say, no, we believe that that law is unconstitutional and therefore it's toast. They didn't have the power to make up law. They couldn't, decide, for example, Roe v. Wade coming up with, well, actually it was the subsequent case that came up with the three trimesters. I'm forgetting the name of the case, but you know what I'm talking about. And developing an idea, for example. This was not envisioned by the founders, or at least the framers of the Constitution. And Alexander Hamilton laid that out in some detail in the Federalist Papers, that the Supreme Court was the final court of appeals. You sue me for something and you win, I appeal it, I win, then you appeal my appeal and you win. And then, ultimately there's got to be a court somewhere that says, okay, here's who actually won. End of discussion. World without end, amen. And that court is the Supreme Court. So, with regard to both civil and criminal activities. So that's the main purpose of the Supreme Court. Now, it has a secondary purpose in that it adjudicates disputes between the states and between the United States and foreign countries. But there's no mention in the Constitution of the Supreme Court knocking down laws based on constitutionality, or, for example, gutting the Voting Rights Act and saying, oh, no, we think that this part of the Voting Rights Act doesn't comport with the Constitution, or saying that everybody should be able to have a gun because of the Constitution, or saying that women shouldn't be able to get an abortion because of the Constitution. It wasn't there. It was put into law in 1803 by the court itself in a case called Marbury versus Madison. And basically, there was that case and Dred Scott in 1856. And those are the only two cases, really, in the first 100 years of America, the first 70 years of America, where this kind of judicial review was practiced by the court. Since then, though, or largely since the Nixon administration, when the right-wingers on the court took over, the court, although it's been most of the 20th century and even large chunks of the last 3 decades of the 19th century, the court's been knocking down laws left and right. I have ranted in the past about how Congress should simply take this power away from them through court stripping. I'm moderating my position here somewhat with this op-ed, and what I'm suggesting is that Congress should pass a law to regulate the court, a power that they're given in Article 3, Section 2. And that regulation of the court should simply say that the court can make a decision as the court of final appeal based on a majority decision. But when they make a decision based on their interpretation of the Constitution, it must be a consensus decision. It must be unanimous. What this would do is instantly strip from the court any semblance of partisanship, because you're going to have Democratic nominees and Republican nominees having to agree that something is, in fact, truly unconstitutional. That's a big deal. And this is, by the way, this is not an altogether radical idea. There are, other countries that do this. I'm looking for my list here. Belgium, France, and Italy work this way. This is not a new idea. In Belgium, in France, and in Italy, for their Supreme Courts to make a decision based on constitutionality, the decision must be unanimous. And in Germany and Spain, the court does that, not by law, but by tradition. So here you have 5 of the most, democratic countries in the world. I mean, nobody would argue that Belgium, France, Italy, Germany, and Spain are fascist dictatorships or weird. And they're all already doing this, and it works really well, and they've been doing it for centuries. In the case of France, this goes back almost as far as the United States. So I'm putting this out there in the hopes that, some legislators will take it seriously, that, senators will read it. I encourage you, if you like this idea, I've tweeted it, I've posted it on basically every social media out there. And, feel free to repost my article, wherever you have posting rights. You may repost it at Daily Kos or Democratic Underground or wherever you want. Just link back to the original article. That's all I ask. Don't worry about fair use. You have my permission. This is an idea that I think his time has come. If you think I'm nuts on this or I'm wrong on this, I'd love to hear from you. But it seems to me like this would resolve a lot of issues. I mean, this power of the court to overturn laws has been huge. I mean, on both sides. And it has done largely, mostly just kind of torn this country apart.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It turns out Neil Gorsuch is apparently hustling money from selling land just like Clarence Thomas was, and hiding the source of it. Amazing.